Well, the Albanese government is under fire today after it's come to light that a very successful Aboriginal school near Alice Springs is trying to now make a satellite school, which would just be 60 k's north of Alice Springs and save kids from driving for 3 hours to get to school. A great worthy cause, of course. Being such a successful school as it currently stands, helping out some of the most needy and disadvantaged Aboriginal kids out in rural areas, they are expecting a good chunk of money from the supposed $40 million education fund that the federal government has for this specific purpose. Instead, they were very confused to receive just $329,000. They can't really do much with that, much less start up a thriving satellite school. Let's hear from the principal, Gavin Morris. He says, we have 300 Aboriginal students. That in and of itself is a feat, by the way, because part of the massive problem is just getting these kids to attend. He says we had real aspirations to build an on-country infrastructure to respond to a community request. We've been working for 18 months to develop curriculum and staffing. We live the voice. We action the voice in terms of centering Aboriginal worldviews. We live that every day. But what we are seeing is you can have a voice in Parliament, but if you are not being heard, you are voiceless. For crying out loud. Albanese government, are we honestly to understand that you are scrimping and saving on the education of Indigenous kids? What? To spend $364 million on a referendum that's supposedly going to help them only when and if it gets up? Here's a very real need on the ground for kids that we desperately want to help, or so you say so. And here's this school going begging for help. We shouldn't shut up about this until we get justice, because this is the worst kind of hypocrisy.
And this bloke, Gavin Morris, I've spoken to him on air before. He seriously cares about these students, and he is dealing with students who are extremely troubled. I mean, he is frequently getting calls in the middle of the night to say one of your students has stolen the school bus from the school grounds. They're going for joy rides around Alice Springs. Now, he doesn't sit there in bed and go, I'll deal with it in the morning. He gets out of bed, be it 2 a.m, 3 a.m, whatever. You know, he goes and visits these kids at the cop shop, or he goes and visits them at the hospital. He takes them home to their parents' houses and then tries to get them to school in the morning. He is doing his darndest to make sure that Aboriginal students who are troubled because whatever's going on at home or they're not getting the support they need, he wants them to have every opportunity in life. And all he's asked for is $1 million. Now, when you consider the $40-odd billion we spend on Aboriginal affairs every year with very little to show for it, they could give $1 million to this school and they can make a serious impact on the lives of actual Aboriginal children. No, we can't have it. I just can't believe it.
My question on this is, where is Indigenous Affairs Minister Linda Burney? She's travelling all around the country spruiking for a yes vote, but here you've got 300 Indigenous kids. She talks about we need to close the gap, we're failing. Well, here's an opportunity to close the gap for 300 kids, and the government's nowhere to be found. It reminds me of Anthony Albanese when there were huge crime problems in Alice Springs. And you remember how long he was in Alice Springs? I think it was 3 hours.
Yes.
And then he spent 3 days at the tennis.
Correct.
And that was a perfect example of where this government's priorities
All talk, no practical measures. I mean, it doesn't get more practical than this.
Exactly.
All talk. It's an absolute abomination.
And the point he makes,
that's not another reason why people should just go to your voice, because you're full of rubbish.
And that's the point he makes, is that we have a voice. We're trying to use our voice right now to say we need help. If they're not going to listen now, why, when they have an advisory body that'll have 24 people on it, elected by God knows who, and will end up with God knows who on it, why are they going to listen then if they won't bother listening now?
Well, I'll tell you why, because guess who one of the proponents for this school was? Jacinta Price. She's the wrong voice for the Albanese government to listen to.
Okay, no, we can't support that.
We couldn't possibly have that. But